Speaking Human.
Today on a very special episode of Speaking Human, we look back on 365 days of viral videos, mobile mania, social strategy, content creation, tablet targeting, and other dangerous forms of marketing mayhem. Then, we ring in the new year with our 2012 Ultimate Superhuman ratings and our massive marketing predictions for 2013. Are you ready? Get ready for the party of the year.
Speaking Human.
Woo! Welcome to Speaking Human, the official podcast of Monsters Unlimited. I'm Shad Conley, and my New Year's resolution is to stop tweeting my enemies links to Snoop Dogg's Hot Pockets commercial.
And I'm Patrick Jebber, and my New Year's resolution is to stop inserting musical clips of Gangnam Style into this podcast. Go!
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style.
Now, if you've listened to the podcast before, you know that we usually kick off each week by taking on the latest mortal marketing news. Then unleashing the fury of our superhuman review. But today, we're throwing that format out the window to end the year in big, bold, epic Speaking Human style by exploring the good, the bad, and the ugly underbelly of marketing in 2012. That's right, folks. It's our best of the year blowout bonanza.
Best of 2012.
So let's get into it.
Ooh.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to talk overview. We're going to look down on 2012 from above and say what was good, what was bad, what was strange, what was meaningful, what was confusing, key takeaways, everything you could possibly think of. Just kidding, we're only going to talk about a few things, so it won't be too long. Don't turn off the podcast. But just to kick it all off, before we get into the marketing stuff, let me ask you, Patrick, the year in general, overall, the world, the news, everything. What did you think of 2012? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly?
Overall, it had its moments. There were some standout marketing campaigns, since we're talking about marketing. In general, I'd give it a good human.
My rating would probably be a little less kind. I thought it was a pretty ugly year. Maybe this reflects my mental state of mind and not the actual year, but when I look back on, what happened, I think of the all this annoying election disasters and storms and just kind of a tumultuous time in America and the world. When I think back on it, that's how I kind of look at it.
You're a shining ray of light today, aren't you?
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe this is my mental state of mind and not what actually happened. But you know how you look back on certain years and you're like, oh, that was a good year or that was a bad year. And it's probably based on remembering like one or two things.
Yeah.
That's my impression. Who knows, in 20 years, maybe I'll be like, 2012 was the best. It really went downhill after that. Let's get into some of the marketing stuff. So in terms of, marketing news, all the mortal marketing news we've talked about on the show, all the stuff you've read on the internet related to marketing, any sort of news story you could think of, what was the most interesting or meaningful or what kind of stuck out to you?
I know it's probably just because it was top of mind, but my favorite is probably the Red Bull jump from space. And then, there's other things that stick out for me, but it was so different than everything else. It was a positive thing. It was an accomplishment more than anything, you know what I mean? But from a marketing standpoint, Red Bull obviously took advantage of that, and I think it was a great marketing tactic.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. That's, one of the things I listed down too. I think it's going to come up a few more times in the show just as we talk about some of the best marketing things of the year because there's so many aspects of that were pretty interesting. So I definitely have that listed down. One of the other things I remember is Facebook buying Instagram for $1 billion. That was a pretty big news story and kind of signaled, the changing landscape of social a little bit and the more visual component of it. And then at the same time, there was, Disney then purchasing the Star Wars franchise, which I thought was also kind of one of these sort of game-changing moves that was just big news.
Yeah, both of those. One of the things that I liked about all three of those that you mentioned is that, they had potential to become much better. With Star Wars, you have the potential for Star Wars to then, come out and be stronger than it was before. Instagram, I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but obviously they've made some very, very recent stumbles.
They're having some problems right now.
Yeah, with the terms and conditions and privacy policies that they put in place just recently, or they were going to implement in January, and they released them, and people, the huge uproar of being able to sell your photos, not paying you for them, in addition to, you have nothing to say about it when they do.
So that was kind of a big deal.
I know this is a year in review, and this is so recent, felt like we should talk about it because it'll be one of those things that we may talk about in January.
Well, and it's a good bookend, too. You talk about there's this news of Facebook buying Instagram, which is close to the beginning of the year, and then you're sort of ending the year with this huge stumble, this publicity firestorm that could, even sink the Instagram brand, which, I mean, we've on this show touted how much we liked Instagram, so it could be quite a downfall. I don't know what's going to happen with it ultimately.
They shot themselves in the foot big time with that, and I don't know. I don't know if they could come back from that. This is a big one for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they could, but they're going to get huge backlash.
Yeah, it's not a good idea, especially for, that's something that's growing in popularity. It's not like they peaked Facebook. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the future of that. Contrast their success story at the beginning of the year to their trouble at the end of the year. That tells you what kind of year it's been. So let me ask you now, what was your, as long as we're talking about social media, what was your favorite thing that happened on social media this year?
I've got a few of them. Facebook going public, obviously, was probably one of the biggest, right? I mean, there were weeks and weeks where people were talking about that, and then
I probably should have included that in my news now that I think about it. That was actually a pretty interesting and big marketing news story. I almost forgot about it for some reason.
Yeah, well, it was early enough in the year. So Facebook going public, I think, was a big one. Not necessarily my favorite. Facebook is great. It's a great tool. I use it all the time, but I've said this before in one of our past podcasts. I'm sort of over Facebook. We still use it. We still do work on it. My second would be, the Pope on Twitter. I think that's a really new development in the social media world. We just talked about that in our last podcast. That says a lot about social media. And then also, I love what Pinterest has done over the last year. What started off as a crafty hobbyist community evolved into, something that businesses are now using to visually promote their organization. But I'm a visual person, and I love the fact that, you could be a little bit more playful with images.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually my number one. The rapid, kind of surprising growth of Pinterest, just how quickly it kind of snowballed and got bigger and more people jumped on board. And the fact that it just, came into this social media landscape where everything's similar but a little different, and it took it in a whole different direction, that obviously has very specific appeal and works for a lot of things very well. I thought Pinterest was the social media underdog story of the year. The other one stuck out to me was Facebook's switch over to the timeline. I think that's been huge for kind of as far as brand pages. I think it's just made it so much better. There's almost a part of my mind that thinks once eventually, people will drop off of Facebook, but it'll remain a useful branding tool. And I think you can just create a lot better brand pages with the way the timeline's set up now. I think it's easier to follow. I think it's more effective. For certain brands or businesses, you don't even necessarily need a website now. And you can probably get away with using a Facebook page for a certain kind of brand. Yeah, not everybody.
What? What are you saying?
It's crazy, but it's possible.
I don't even know you anymore.
What are you talking about? I like the timeline. I think timeline's good. OMG.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Facebook's had a lot of interesting developments this year, and the timeline view it's definitely made it easier. I know there was a lot of resistance up front. People were, didn't want to move that way, and I think it is good for businesses. I think that businesses still need the web presence outside of Facebook. Again,
I said, I was saying for a specific kind of.
Don't try to change it now, Shad.
It's recorded. It's on.
Don't backtrack. Don't backtrack.
It's hit the airwaves. There's proof.
When we do social media management, I think it's one of those things where it allows you to have those current news stories. It's almost like a news feed, a constant news feed. So
yeah,
it's good.
Which a certain type of business could exist on. Anyways, Facebook's been, Facebook been in the news a lot. I guess they have when you think about it, good and bad in the news this year. I still think we both kind of think they're on the downswing a little bit, but yeah, they've been all over the place as usual.
Yeah, their big thing will be, how do they innovate over the course of the next few years because they're going to have to stay in it.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to another big thing. Huge year for video. Video continues to just grow, spread of mobile and tablets. People are just watching them a lot more. Brands are producing them a lot more. Patrick, what was your favorite viral video or, brand video, even commercial, anything like that was shared on the internet? What was the one or some of the ones that stuck out to you this year?
For marketing and, like a feel-good marketing campaign, I'm going to have to say that the Volkswagen "It's not the miles, it's how you live them" commercial. I really liked that. I mean, it felt good. It was such a brief commercial, but it was so powerful from an emotional standpoint. It really pulls you in. I don't care who you are. It's fun to watch people laugh uncontrollably at something.
I definitely agree with you. That's, when I was making my list, that's the first one I immediately thought of something that stuck out to me.
Great minds think alike.
And yeah, just completely memorable and just struck the right, emotional chord, fit with the campaign. Really well done, I think.
Yeah, and then from a fun aspect as a dad, I really liked the Dora the Explorer, the fake real life movie trailer.
I don't know if I've seen this. Can you explain it a little bit?
They basically did a viral video, a fake real life movie trailer, meaning it wasn't a cartoon. It was real live actors. The girl from Modern Family played Dora, and it had some nobodies, really, from actor standpoint, doing this trailer, but I apologize to those actors ahead of time for calling them nobodies.
I'm sure they don't listen to the podcast.
No, but if they did. But it was like if Dora the Explorer was a real life action movie, and it poked fun at the show. The map was actually a person, like a spy, and he comes on the screen. He's like, "I'm the map. I'm the map." And Diego makes an appearance in it, and Diego's an assassin. It's very, very bizarre and weird, but it was funny because if you know the cartoon and the shows that the kids watch, it was just a play off of that, and it kind of tugged at that humorous side of that world.
I'll tell you another one that I thought of, after obviously, like I said, the Volkswagen one came to mind. The other one that kind of stuck out in my mind was also something we talked about on the show was the Old Spice Muscle Music video. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah, I like that one a lot. Mm-hmm.
Terry Crews, who's kind of the guy who's in a lot of the Old Spice funny commercials and videos now. Big, muscular guy. And he's sitting there with all these electronic things plugged into his body, kind of like you're getting a heart test at the doctor or something. And as he flexes his muscles, it plays all these weird instruments, like the flame sax.
It was amazing.
It was weird, and it was unlike anything you've ever seen. And it's, as we said, I think when we discussed it, it's just kind of what Old Spice does better than anybody else. They do these just bizarre videos and stuff that really just can't help but laugh, and you want to share it with people. And they even had, a version of it then when you could kind of make your own music doing it. Pretty interesting campaign all around. Just a great example of a truly viral video, something that you feel compelled to share with people.
Well, and it had a great interactive quality to it too. It wasn't just watch it and share. It was like interact with this video, which means a lot, from a marketing standpoint. You're always trying to get people to engage with you and to do more than just share it.
Yeah, to hang out on your website or your social pages as long as they can.
Yeah, speaking of that actor, Terry Crews, I'll tell you, he picks really good roles, if you want to call him that. He's always in something that makes me laugh or smile because you think this big burly guy, he'd always be like a villain. In some cases, he has been a villain, but he's sort of taken this comedic role in a lot of cases, and I really like that about him.
Yeah, he's funny. I'd hang out with him. So yeah, those are some of the, videos that stuck out in my mind. Obviously, there were a lot of videos. If I probably went back, there's probably 100 other ones. But did you have anything else in that category?
No, but I will throw out a few stats for video, jaw-dropping stats, if you will. Ooh. 456 million content videos were watched this year, 105 billion video ads were viewed, and 182 million users were watching videos.
That's impressive. So that's obviously one of the big marketing stories of the year, as it has been for the past couple of years, but I think this year more so, especially with tablets getting spread around more and more now. Videos, man, it's a great marketing tool, and it's increasing in power. When a lot of things are decreasing in power, video is becoming more powerful.
Yeah, as bandwidth is being able to maintain that for people, having LTE on your smartphones and be able to watch a video while you're parked in a parking lot waiting for your family to come out from a store. I'm not saying I do that.
Specific. Overall, what do you think was the best piece of marketing of the year? Your finest, most memorable, most meaningful, somebody who did it in a way that you think will be remembered for centuries to come.
There are things that stood out to me. Nothing that really changed my life.
We were just in the news story, we're talking about the space jump. That's kind of a startling and almost game-changing example of somebody doing something completely different, still within the realms of you're still posting video, drawing attention to yourself. But I mean, Red Bull shoved millions of dollars into having a guy jump from space. If you're asking me what I'm going to remember marketing-wise from this year, that might be the only one.
I did like the Red Bull, and I think it was probably one of the most memorable pieces, something that's never been done before, and
Yeah.
not many people can say that, especially in marketing. Most oftentimes, whatever you're doing has been done before in some way, shape, or form.
It was completely innovative. It's one of these things. Brands are kind of bleeding into all these different categories now, and that's kind of a prime example of it. So what about any honorable mentions? Anything else you would say came close to cracking your list or you thought was one of the better things of the year, if not the best?
Honorable mentions, I'd probably give a tie to a couple of the viral music videos of the year, Gangnam Style
Open Gangnam Style.
and Call Me Maybe. The parodies like the Olympic swim team, those were a lot of fun. They were marketing the Olympic team and the Olympics, that kind of thing.
The way they were used by different brands or different organizations to promote themselves then. Show they have a sense of humor.
What would you say the worst piece of marketing was?
To me, this was pretty easy, and probably anybody who's listened to every episode of the podcast. It was the Snoop Dogg Hot Pockets video. Are you on the same page with this one? I thought you would be.
Yeah.
Snoop Hot Pockets video still kind of haunts my dreams, or
Oh,
should I
yeah.
say nightmares. It was a terrifying video. A piece of garbage, one of those things like, why did they... where everything just was wrong to me about it. Nothing worked. It was disturbed me. I didn't enjoy it. I'm talking about it, but on a bad level. I don't believe that all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, you felt, like I said in the podcast when we talked about it, it made me feel dirty. And that's not a good thing ever.
No.
Especially when you're talking about food.
You don't want marketing that makes you feel like you need to shower afterwards.
Yeah. And I know this was not something we talked about in a previous podcast, but the Brad Pitt Chanel No. 5 commercials.
Which we should have talked about.
Yeah, I just did not like those at all. I thought they were ridiculous.
I don't think anybody liked them. They were just so head-scratching. You're like, what?
For the sake of using Brad Pitt, for obvious reasons, he's a good-looking guy, and women swoon over him. And I did use the word swoon, because I'm 90.
Yeah.
But they were just bad. I mean, we're talking about it, but just like the Hot Pockets, just because you're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those things I actually wish we would have talked about because we could have kind of had a field day with it. But I just had seen an article with it. The ads director, who is actually a movie director too, I don't know what else he's directed. There was an article where he said he had no idea what the ads were about either. That's a good choice, though. That's definitely a good choice and something that sticks out for its awfulness.
I'll tell you, the other thing that's probably on my list there, worst, is I would say it's less of a marketing campaign. Dish, they made some really horrible decisions this year. I feel like bad things are going to come out of all of their hiccups from the year.
Yeah. I thought you were going to mention, just because I remember the show where you went off on a tangent about it, that Toys R Us tablet computer they made for children.
Oh, the Tabio. That's so bad, man. It's like a repressed memory.
So moving, when we talk about the year as a whole, then after we look at some of the best and the worst, as far as like, what did we learn this year? What are some of your key marketing takeaways, or, what did you get out of 2012, the year in marketing?
What did we learn? Social is here to stay. The year of 2012 was the year that social and mobile being the vehicle that helped drive social media even further, that it's here to stay. It could be a great return on your investment from a business standpoint, but obviously businesses have to use common sense when they engage customers, because we've seen what happens when they don't. When you're not transparent, when you're not honest with them. But if you do all of those things, people will love you for it.
Yeah, I'd actually, my kind of key takeaway, I would take that same idea basically. Your brand is essentially a shared entity now. You no longer have control over it. People are out there and people have these forums and these voices. Whether you accept it or not, they kind of own your brand now. And they can transform it into whatever they want it to. Based on you make a terrible decision, they're going to come at you. So you got to think about every aspect of your business and your brand. It's got to be transparent, and people are a part of that now.
Yeah, and ignoring it's not the answer.
It's the worst thing you can do, basically.
Yeah, because it's going to happen whether or not you like it, and so you should be there to really build a relationship with your customers because, I mean, they want you to build that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of aside to that, or part of that, I'd say, is 2012 was the year of content marketing, brand publishing. This term content marketing blew up this year, but that's what you have to do now. Everybody's a publisher. You got to present information. It's not just about selling people, selling products and services. It's about sharing your expertise, showing people why you're the best in the business, sharing information, drawing them to your brand with information, entertainment, expanding your voice. I think that was a big part of the year, and that's going to continue to be a big trend moving forward.
Those two things actually go hand in hand, social and content marketing.
Absolutely. So, overall human ratings for the year overall, and then the year in marketing. So 2 separate ratings.
Do you want mine first?
Well, I'll tell you right now, mine for the year 2012, which, I described as ugly earlier, I'll give 2 humans. I think we could do a lot better, people.
I see that coming from you after your introduction to 2012.
My bleak introduction, my bleak goodbye to 2012.
I would give 2012 3 humans. Obviously I was a little more positive about the year in review. I would say 3 humans to me is above average. From a marketing standpoint, everything was sort of short-term memory marketing to me, but nothing that's going to stand the test of time.
I thought the year in marketing, I actually thought was much better than the year taken as a whole as I look at it in terms of politics and news stories and too much depressing nightly news. But, I'd give the marketing year 4 humans. It seemed like more of a year where brands connecting with people in more ways.
The year in marketing review, I'd probably give 3 humans. I think it was above average. Again, it's still the Wild West from a social media standpoint. Even content marketing, people, like you said, they're grabbing the reins and they're going after it and they're actually doing these things. And there's a lot of fun things happening because of that, but I still feel like it could be better. They're just not taking full advantage of it in most cases. But that's my take. There were a lot of interesting and fun things that happened during the year, but from a marketing perspective, nothing that was like,
Blew
wow,
your mind.
I'm going to remember that for all time.
Yeah, that's fair. 3 humans for everything.
That's totally unlike me, isn't it? And if you rounded them all out, they would be above 3 humans for the year, but I didn't average my humans.
You got to average your humans. So what do you think? Let's look ahead to next year real quick, before we wrap up the show. What do you think will be big, different, important in marketing in 2013? What's the next thing? What's the buzzwords? What's happening in 2013?
All right, I got some predictions. You want them?
Go.
Facebook will implode. Yes, I said it. Apple will stun the world with a new product. Haha, I got my Apple plug in there. Dish Network will close its doors, and they don't have doors, but they'll close their satellite dishes. They'll actually fold up in space and then fall into the ocean. And then I think Twinkies will live on, even after the apocalypse, man.
You stole that one. You ripped it right out of my hands. That was one of my predictions.
See, I'm
telling you. Return of the
man,
Twinkie.
That's why we do this podcast together, man, because we are so much on the same page.
I know, we probably don't even need both of us. One of us could just do it and it'll be the same. People are just listening. They don't even know that this is necessarily 2 people. It could just be one person doing different voices.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Other than the, Twinkie coming back, I think another big thing is we're going to see more of these entertainment and marketing blending together. In 2013, I don't know if it's quite here yet, but I think we're on the cusp of a movie or TV series developed by a brand that's actually of good quality. I think that's coming soon. Another thing, I think that PayPal is going to go out of business because they chose Jeff Goldblum for their first ever national marketing campaign. Huge mistake. Had to get that shot in there. And then finally, I think this podcast is going to get even more awesome than it was before. And on that note,
all right, that's it for today's show. That's it for the rest of the year. So we want to thank everyone who listened to the podcast this year, and we look forward to producing more great episodes for you in 2013. Remember, you can listen to the current and past episodes of the podcast at speakinghuman.com. You can also subscribe to the Speaking Human podcast in the iTunes store. iTunes. Email us with any feedback or topics you'd like us to discuss on the show at ideas@thinkmonsters.com. That's ideas@thinkmonsters.com because we're full of ideas.
Get it? So that's it. That's it for 2012. We'll be back next year with more marketing chatter. Catch you then, humans.
Speaking Human.